Hello and welcome to the DC United Kingdom podcast. This is, as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, it is an extra time special because we're not all going to be talking about soccer. There is going to be a little bit of dad talk. So if you are watching on YouTube, you'll see over to my right here. I keep forgetting because it's mirrored. I have to point to my actual left, but it's on the right on your screen. It's David Shams. Now, if you are an avid listener and you've been here since the very beginning, thank you. You'll probably recognise David. But if you are a new listener, a new viewer, David, he was the first ever guest on this podcast. And it's great to have him back because we're both new dads and we're going to be talking of babies. So, but please stick around. There is soccer, and that's coming up very soon. But David, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you on. How are you and your child?
Yeah, well, first, James, thanks for having me back on. And it has been the last few months have been a really fun, interesting roller coaster, I guess. I told someone whenever my daughter first came home that it was like white knuckle driving. You're just you're holding on, but you're not driving. You're like in the passenger seat, right? And so, gradually I've gotten a little bit more confident since then, but you're never truly like 100% confident about anything that you're doing. And like we were talking about on the phone, or not on the phone earlier, it's this, you're constantly, your attention is constantly split. Like you're constantly listening or looking for what she, or in your case, he is doing, even while you're doing something else, whether it's making dinner, washing dishes, folding clothing, watching TV, reading, writing, whatever. You're constantly on the lookout. So, but I mean, the elephant in the room is COVID-19, right?
Yep,
so
it is.
That has completely changed everything for us. I don't know about you, but my in-laws and then my mom were supposed to come and help out for a significant amount of time, and they couldn't because of travel restrictions, and my mom is in her 70s, so we don't want to risk that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the feeling on that side, because I know on my side of the family, they live 230 odd miles away, so them coming down has been a no-go. Thankfully, they did manage to come down before our lockdown started, so literally the weekend before it all kicked off.
Oh wow!
So my mum and dad I've seen Jack, but my in-laws, my mother-in-law, that's easiest to say. She is shielding, so now that the restrictions are a little bit lighter, it's not so bad. So we still keep our distance, obviously, but she's been able to see Jack from a distance. And then my father-in-law, we've been around to his garden a couple of times because now we can go in back gardens.
Yeah.
Still obviously distancing, but he's been able to see Jack as well. So it's all good.
Good.
We're just in the middle of arranging meeting my parents somewhere in the middle of the UK.
Okay.
Because I live in the southwest and they live in the northeast.
Yeah. You're in, was it Cheltenham?
Near
area?
enough, yeah. So it's that's where I work actually. So it's about a 10-minute drive away, something like that. 10-15-minute drive. So very, very close.
Got it.
I know on the last show I was speaking to Daniel and he was asking how far away I am from Leicester. I was like a couple of hours away, and this is like, well, in America that's actually quite close.
Yeah.
But speaking of soccer, we are here to talk a little bit about soccer. There's been obviously a few things. Obviously, since you were last on the show, there's been quite a lot. But we're going to talk about what's kind of happened really in the last week. So the MLS is back tournament was announced, and the group stage has been drawn. Talk us through it, David. So we're obviously up against Toronto, New England Revs, and Montreal Impact. Talk us through it.
Yeah, there was an interesting conversation on at halftime in one of the Bundesliga matches on Fox Sports, which I don't think you all get, or you were able to get that feed at all. But it was Alexi Lawless, Stu Holden, and then the host Rob Stone, and they were asking what the group of death was, like what the most competitive group would be. And I normally don't agree with Alexi Lawless, just because he's always out there, and he's more of a shock jock in my opinion. But I agreed with him on this one that our group is probably, while we don't have the best teams in the league in the group, it's the most evenly matched, so anything could happen. And it's also hard to tell because they only played 2 games, and then the season was kind of halted.
Yeah.
And then you don't really know what players have done when they were in isolation working out. And then you don't know what sorts of chemistry issues came up during that time period or were festering before and never got addressed and then could possibly come up in the tournament.
Yep.
And then who got injured, and I think you wrote it down on the pre-show notes. There's one player who's tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah.
What will that do to the rest of the team and how they train?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think I've seen some rumours on who it is, but obviously it can't be confirmed because the club hasn't confirmed it. But rumour has it was Edison Flores. So that is an interesting one to see. Because all the photos from, obviously they did the BLM I Can't Breathe painting on the pitch. He wasn't there.
Okay.
The training photos that have been out from this week, he's not involved, or you don't see him there. And there was a photo he put up on Instagram where he shaved his head. Different look.
Okay.
But with just new boots. So I know it doesn't look like there's the ground inside.
Yeah.
It's just him holding some new boots. So it's potentially Edison Flores. And by the way he looks on the photo that he posted, he looks fitting well. So it's probably only mild symptoms, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, is what are, one, how the test went. Was it just test for the antibodies, or was it test for actual, is he shedding it, right? But he's symptomatic. And again, it gets back to, we don't really know enough about the virus to really know what any of it means. Just okay, out of abundance of precaution, you need to isolate yourself for 2 weeks after this positive test. And if it is him, it's going to be have a major impact on how the team trains and how the team sets up for the tournament. Which, I mean, when are they going to put out the schedule for when DC United plays? Because they haven't yet.
No.
And that's kind of sends up some red flags for me, some signals that they're not sure that they're even going to be able to start on July 8th. Combined with the fact that Florida is having a spike in cases. So it's just
we're so close we can taste it, and but it's just out of that reach, and you're thinking my fingers are crossed, my toes are crossed, anything else I can cross is crossed. And I just hope that where they're going to the ESPN wide world of sports, it's a mouthful, the name. That they truly are separated. They are on their own, and the only time they have contact is when they come out on the pitch against other teams. So I really do hope that Don Garber has looked at and made sure that there are no issues in terms of the player safety and safety of the staff as well.
In terms of I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the teams that they were playing. One, I'm actually fascinated to see how Thierry Henry does as the manager for the Impact. Especially coming off the failure at Monaco, where it was just really bad. He did not do well. And of course, keep in mind, awful. It was right after they sold Fabinho and Mbappe and a few other players, right on the cusp of them doing quite well in the Champions League. they sold all these players, and he comes in and is like, well, doesn't do so great, but still, it's like there's an expectation because it is Monaco that they do perform a little bit better than they did. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So that's one thing, and then Toronto. I'm always interested to see how much longer Michael Bradley can play, and if Josie Altidore can have a season without being injured for an extended period of time. Which has, I guess, been his issue throughout his entire career. Yeah. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I just always remember him being
injury prone. He has. I mean, I know from his Sunderland and Hull days, he just was riddled with injuries. In the nicest way, I hope he doesn't have any more injuries.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Except when he's playing DC.
Right.
That's the only time
don't want you to score.
I'm finding it really difficult to kind of even put a grasp on how this whole tournament is going to go, because as you rightly said, there's only been 2 games so far this season, and you can't put any predictions based on that because it's your first couple of games of the season. You're still settling down into the team rhythm.
Yep.
I know that we've had this lengthy layoff. It is going to be like pre-season all over again.
Yeah.
So I hope
preseason, but it counts, right?
Yeah, so that's literally it. It's the group stages are going towards the actual overall season. So if you didn't know that, each team will get 3 games in the group stages. Even that 6-group team, they're only playing 3 games, so they're not playing each other, which is weird.
Yeah. I don't know why they couldn't have just spread that like extra 2 teams across the other
I don't
groups.
understand how that's going to work, because you're going to think someone's going to have an advantage somewhere along the line in that group. And the other teams in that group are going to be at a disadvantage from being able to qualify out of the group as well, because there's more of them. So there's a little bit unfairness in there. And the fact that both Orlando and Inter Miami were automatically seeded into that group just because they wanted a big derby match.
Yeah.
That's MLS being very MLS right there.
Right, yeah. MLS being MLS.
Yes.
A convoluted-ish tournament that is supposed to be preseason-ish, but not counting, but counting. And then...
There's what is it? It's a $1.1 million prize pool you've got up for grabs. You've got a place in the CONCACAF Champions League next season.
Yep.
But only 3 games are counting towards the league.
Yeah. And then you may not even have a league in the fall, right? So we don't really know once this is over, once they play, COVID-19 could come back, or what you have is just no fans in the stadium, and which causes another problem for a lot of teams who rely on ticket revenue for everything, right? Which I think most MLS teams are not heavily reliant. I don't know what the ratio is, but it's like a lot of lower league teams in the UK rely heavily on ticket revenue.
Absolutely.
So it will, again, I can't say this enough. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm also hopefully optimistic, but I'm also a little cynical in that I just don't know if it's actually going to happen, because we've seen these spikes after the U.S. in some places reopen, and so it's going to make it a difficult proposition for sports teams in general, whether it's soccer or basketball or American football, to reopen and have fans in a stadium. Like my wife's family, for example, are big Penn State football fans, which their stadium fits about 110,000 people, maybe 105,000. And we go, it's a lot. We try to go every year to one game, and I'm a sports fan, and sitting in a stadium of 105,000 people is phenomenal. It's a fun experience, right? But I'm not going to do that during a pandemic, right? No. Yeah. So and then also how how are teams going to be able to play and perform in that specific level, right, without any fans there? Because you think you get some energy off of that. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, I do apologise. My kitty cat walked into the room and started meowing.
That's all right.
insane. Oh, that's staying in the show afterwards. But yeah, I just don't get how big the stadiums are over in the States for even the college and high school things. It's just insane, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think there are at least 4 or 5 other college stadiums that have over 100,000 fans that can come in and watch. Yeah, and it's really college sports. It's not even professional sports. So a lot of these American football teams that have big stadiums really only fit 60,000. Some fit 80, but which is still a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not a lot. It's just, it's just interesting that college football has that many people coming to it all the time. But
no, it's just mental. Speaking of obviously big stadiums and attendance and things, EPL, so the English Premier League, made its comeback.
Yes.
Did you manage to watch either of the games yesterday?
I watched the last 30 minutes of the Villa Sheffield United match.
I do apologise for that then, because that was dull.
Yeah. So I missed the no call, which I can get back to, and then I watched most of the City Arsenal match, which we also have lined up to talk about. But I was watching some of so there's a second division German league team that I try to follow because I studied there about 20 years ago.
Who's that?
17 years ago in Regensburg. And so they have a team that's in the second division. So I was watching that instead of the other match.
Fair enough.
So I missed the like no goal, the goal that was supposed to be a goal that ended up being a no goal.
Yes.
And that's just like, the EPL is just really rolled out VAR and goal line technology really poorly. And it's just like, what happened?
Honestly, so I caught both games. I watched them both in full, and you see the free kick come in. You know, I mean the keeper. What the heck he was doing? Absolutely awful keeping. Granted, the Villa player, I don't know who it was, but pushed the keeper over the line. That's not good. But they have in each of the Premier League stadiums. They have I think it's 7 cameras over both goals, so they should be able to see if the ball goes over the line. There's a sensor inside the actual soccer ball, and that didn't go off. So the ref, Michael Oliver, who I really do rate, I think he's an absolute brilliant referee.
Yeah,
he thought it was a goal, but because his wrist didn't go off, he automatically it wasn't a goal. He's like, it can't have gone over the line then. Because goal line technology has actually never failed. This is the first time it's ever failed. Yeah. And it was just, you saw obviously Sheffield United players, and they're obviously adamant that it went over the line. And you're thinking, you see the replays, you're like, that is just, it's blatant.
Right.
I can see why Michael Oliver has gone and said it's no goal, because obviously his wrist. The linesman should have seen it. Right. Because he was on that side of the pitch as well. Yeah. And VAR. So on my understanding, VAR wasn't allowed to intervene when it was something to do with goal line technology. Okay. Things have come out. Statements came out today. One was actually from last night, which was from Hawkeye, who apologised, saying, the system wasn't working. We apologise unreservedly. Investigations are going on. Not much more you can do about that, really. Right. Yeah. And then the Premier League came out. Was it PGMOL, the professional referee, whatever, and talked about VAR. and they said that it was a bit of a wishy-washy statement in which that they could have got involved, but they didn't.
Right.
And you're thinking, it's a clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more clear and obvious it has to be.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But that was just...
Yeah, I was a lot like you, and I thought that originally that because it's goal line technology that VAR couldn't be involved. But then I think I heard just like you that they could have said, okay, clear and obvious error. We have until the next stoppage of play to review it and say, you know what, you need to go and check this out. Yeah. And, I think if I'm Michael Oliver, I'm pretty pissed right now because this kind of besmirches my record a little bit. Yeah. Because I think you could tell he, like you said, he was like, I can't call this a goal, even though I feel pretty confident it was a goal. I don't know 100% sure that it happened. And because the goal line technology didn't work, he didn't get the buzz, like you said. But then his VAR guy disappears on him. I don't know what happened with that, and clearly sees it happen because we're all getting the replays like in the next minute and a half before the next stoppage. And so we all see it. This is the moment that even if it wasn't protocol, you say this isn't an exception to the exception to the exception to the exception. Yeah. And once in a lifetime or once in a season, once in 10 seasons, that I'm going to make this call and say, you need to go check this because
it just baffles me. And you just think, just do it. And, but this is kind of the downside to technology. Yeah. Is the fact that it made Michael Oliver second guess that decision.
Yeah.
If that technology wasn't there, that would have been 1-0 to Sheffield United.
Right. Yep. He would have just blown the whistle and said goal. Yeah.
And now that we've got that technology, he's obviously had to rely on it to make that decision. Rather than going with his gut, which for me, that's, like I said, the downside. And I feel like the referee should be able to go with their gut. Mm-hmm. And if they are doubting anything, then use the technology. The technology should always be the backup to what the referee decides. And I still don't understand why. And I can't remember whether it happens in MLS because it's been so long since I've been able to watch a game and where VAR has had to intervene. I've always understood. I would always want it where the referee speaks to VAR rather than VAR going in the referee's ear. Oh, you might want to check that. Right. And if the referee's completely missed it. Yeah. But if it's down to things like a penalty decision or a sending off decision or the goal line decision, right, the referee should be able to go to the VAR and go, can you guys just load that up for me so I can go over to the monitor and just check it out just to make sure. Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that if they're not doing, they should be at least thinking about doing, because at some point you're going to, as an official, maybe the guy in the booth also missed it. And if you're both missing it, you just feel like, hey, let's just, for the sake of the purity of the game or whatever, just check this, So, like I said, technology should be there to enhance it and be there as the backup. Right. The referee should always have the first decision. Yep. But if for whatever reason he's missed something or he wants to check something out just to make sure he's got the right decision, he should be the one who's leading it rather than the guy in the booth saying, you missed that, you want to go and check that. Mm-hmm. Or it's a penalty decision, we need to check it again. Yep. The referee gave it a penalty. If he wants to check it, fine. Yep. But he's given the penalty. Let him. Yeah. There's that. But I guess the thing that I'm just kind of thinking about too is that, at some point there's also, and I think we saw this in the Liverpool v Chelsea Super Cup match, and then we've seen it in, I think it was Spurs v Bayern in London this year in the Champions League, where it was clearly in the Chelsea v Liverpool case not a penalty, and the referee was adamant that it was a penalty, and so they didn't review it. And then in the Bayern
Spurs match, it was clear that it was a penalty. The referee was adamant that it wasn't, and so that
Yeah.
there was no review. Which I guess you make a compelling point in that the referee should make that, the center ref should make that decision. But at some point, there should be some way to be like, no, dude, you actually completely missed this.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would work, but that
I
conversation
think-
needs to take place.
We can probably both agree no way it's going to be 100% accurate.
Yeah.
That's
right.
that, and that's
Yeah.
it. That's human nature. We're never going to be 100% accurate. So, but I do want to talk about obviously the Man City Arsenal game, because David Luiz
Yeah.
didn't start.
Yeah.
Came on because Arsenal, they just got injuries left, right, and centre. Bless them.
Right.
Yeah. You can see why he doesn't start normally and why he hasn't been offered a contract.
Yeah. He lasted what 45 minutes total? Ish?
Yeah, ish. Give or take.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it this way, but that's the only way I can think is like he's the guy who's like kind of failed upwards. He's like the example, like the prototypical example of like he's had 2 or 3 really amazing moments, and he's made his career off those 2 or 3 really amazing moments. And those moments are amazing. Like they're phenomenal, right? Some of the goals that he scored off free kicks, some of the like plays he's made are great. But he has all of these other like really dramatic mistakes that just I can't even think like what's going on in his head. And when he walks out onto the pitch, you look at him and you're like, this guy doesn't know he's at a football match. Like he has no like it's like he's not there. There's something going on in his head that he's like, I'm not mentally prepared for this space, but here I am. I'm going to go out and do this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. And yet he's played at PSG, he's played at Chelsea twice, and he's now at Arsenal. That said, I'd take him on my team, right? But which is, I don't know. That maybe not be the nicest thing, but I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him play with DC United. I wouldn't be opposed to see him playing, in France again or Portugal, even Spain. But it just doesn't seem like he's like the league. The Premier League is such a high intensity league that you're on constantly.
Yeah.
Like game in, game out, every minute, every second you have to be on. You can't have a as one of my teachers called, you can't have a brain fart and just shut off for like a second, because then you
really
have
can't.
you have those 2 instances that he had that really made his whole day bad. So
Yeah. So if you somehow managed to miss the game, the first goal, he just wasn't there, was he?
he tried a weird like thought trap that was really probably he just should have just put his body in front of it. Instead, he jumped and tried to stick his leg out, and it like
I mean, it
deflected
just, like,
right to Sterling.
hit off his hip or something like that, and he was just like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
yeah,
What are you doing? It's football, not thigh ball.
right.
And then the second mistake he made, where I think it was Mahrez who was through,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he just decided to pull him back, and last man, goal scoring opportunity, didn't even make an attempt to play the ball,
Right.
and it was just rash. I mean, either way, it was going to be a goal
Right.
because Mahrez doesn't really miss from that range.
Yep.
And it ended up being a penalty. He gets sent off. But fair play to David Luiz. After the game, he came out and actually spoke to the press. So he came out probably about 20 minutes after the game had finished and spoke to Jeff Shreves, who's pitchside's pundit for Sky Sports over here in the UK. And he came out and just said, that was my fault.
Yeah.
We lost because of me. I know my contract's out at the end of the season. I want to stay. Mikel Arteta wants me to stay. That's it.
Yeah.
And then, but for a player to come out and
Yeah.
admit that it was his fault,
Yeah.
you don't see that happen too often, do you?
No, you don't. And I will give him credit, not just for that time, pretty much on most occasions when he has those big mistakes, he will hold his hand up and say, it's my fault. So
Yeah.
I will 100% give him that credit. And he definitely never shies away from talking about making those mistakes. He's definitely one of those players and doesn't whenever Brendan Rodgers and what was it, the 14-15 season in Liverpool was like, our guys played really well after getting beat 4-1 by whomever. Like it was every match he would say that. And it was just like, dude, like we all saw what happened. Like, let's not mince our words here. Like, let's be honest about the fact that the team played poorly. And so it's very rare to see a professional go out and admit those faults and hold their hand up and say, you know what, that's me. So all credit to him on that.
Yeah. I think it was it finished 4-0 from what I remember. I know it was only last night, but
Yeah. And then there was
I want to say baby brain because sometimes I forget.
Yeah, that's a real thing actually. So
Yes, it really is.
What day is it again? I don't know. What time is it?
All I know is I'm back to work tomorrow. After I've had 4 months off and I'm back to work. That's gonna be weird. So
yeah.
Is
there any update on the player who got injured towards the end, Garcia?
So they spoke to Pep Guardiola after the game, and he said that he was awake.
Okay.
Which is great. But they were going to take him to hospital just to go through some tests because obviously it was one heck of a hit from Edison. It was brutal.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, not going to be okay.
He just went down like that. Just as I say, I don't know whether you hear it over in America, but he went down like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. Just out cold straight away. And I mean, fair play to Edison. I think he would get into most Premier League defences.
Yes, he's not a bad player. Yeah,
he's great with his feet. He can make a tackle, and he can head the ball.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And take someone out at the same time. So, well, the big difference from before we had the enforced break to now is the fact that we have zero crowds there.
Yeah.
This is the new normal. And we're hearing that phrase quite a lot now, especially in the soccer world. I don't know about you guys over in the States with your broadcast, but we had the option of 2 different broadcasts. So we had the option where it was just as is in the ground, but Sky Sports were showing a second feed where they were pumping in artificial crowd noise like they've done with the Bundesliga. But Sky have actually teamed up with EA Sports to provide the crowd noise, which is kind of cool. Did you guys get crowd noise over in the States?
We got crowd noise. We didn't get the option to at least in the feed that I had. Maybe there's a special thing you can sign up for, but we only had the option, again, from what I could tell, to have the crowd noise pumped in, which I don't mind, but also don't mind not having the crowd noise because it adds an interesting perspective that you don't really ever get, and you probably won't get after this is over, right? And once fans come back into the stadium, you get the sound of the coaches yelling, you get the sound of the players yelling, and you can kind of start to figure out, at least with the Bundesliga early on, what things were important to them. Right? Like you thought, oh, okay, this is the tactic that they're trying to use. But then you listen to them and you can hear them screaming at a certain point. You'll be like, oh, actually, this was what was important to them.
Yeah.
So
I have to say, I watched the Bundesliga when it first came back, and at that time they had no crowd noise coming through.
Mm-hmm.
They've now changed it to having crowd noise, and now we've had the Premier League back with. I watched both games with the crowds in there. Now that I've experienced both, I actually prefer no crowd noise.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's controversial or not, but I actually preferred it without the crowd.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you can hear the coaches shouting on the touchline. You can hear the players screaming for the ball and things like that. And it's, to me, I much prefer that. I don't know whether it's because it's different or whether it's because the crowd noise that was being filtered through was just awful.
Yeah.
Because it just sounded like just a crowd. There weren't that many chants going on.
Yeah.
I know in the City game, you heard Arsenal fans shouting Arsenal, Arsenal, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Because that never actually happens at the Emirates.
Right.
I had to get that one in there. And the fact that the fact that the game was at the Etihad, I mean, without the crowd, they actually had more crowd than they had there before.
Right. Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, get the digs in there.
Yeah.
Because I don't support a Premier League team.
We were definitely making that observation as well. That like, oh, this is just like a regular match for Man City.
I think that it was just weird. The crowd noise was bizarre because they got the top because they were doing the hey or
right.
for when they had a miss. The timing was just so far out.
Yeah,
it just didn't feel right. And next games I'm gonna watch. I'm just gonna watch it without the crowd because you don't get that interruption. You don't get that disconnect.
Yeah, I was wondering like some of the Bundesliga matches actually were pretty well timed. Some of them. I think the Dortmund matches that were at home, the one I watched actually I was like, oh, this is actually they've done a pretty good job with this one. But like you said, there have been some where you're just like, all right, something important happened here, and no one is like, there's no cheering, there's no there's no chanting for the home team that actually matches what the home team usually does when they're chanting, right? So like, what is like what's going on? Like, but like you, I'm a big fan of like just not having it, so I can hear, like I said before, what's important to the team, what's important to the coach, why, at what point are they shouting, after which actions are they shouting, like what sorts of things are they shouting to their players. I know it's in German, and so you can't really understand, but you can pick up on tone. Like, okay, they're really angry right now. So something this player did or this decision that he just made was incorrect. Even though I thought it was right, it was obviously incorrect. So
it does open your eyes a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I'm also interested, though, I know that they're going to do a mini like Champions League down in Portugal, but I'm also interested, like, what's going to happen with European competition for the 2021 season, and then how that's going to affect international competition and qualifiers, right? Because if teams aren't traveling and players aren't traveling, what do you do?
Exactly.
Right? How do you have these competitions?
Yeah, it's going to be a bit strange because you've got, as you said, well, for us in England, travel's very, very difficult. It's impossible. Unless there's certain exceptions, but team. I don't know whether football would be classed as an exception, but we shall see.
Yeah.
In terms of the tournaments, I know in Europe you can travel within Europe now. That's, as far as I understand, that's been lifted. So if you're going from Spain to Portugal or France to Portugal or whatever, then that's not a problem. But for us over in England, in the UK, things will have to be getting lifted. I know there's been actually a coronavirus briefing, so we get that daily here in the UK. And there was something about there might be easing lockdown even further. So fingers crossed, whilst we've been recording, lockdowns have been eased a little bit more, and they might have announced that pubs are going to reopen. My fingers are crossed. At the moment, I'm recording my end through my phone, so I've got Do Not Disturb on, so I don't know.
Okay.
There's no alerts are coming through, so I don't know whether. I mean, I could look on my computer, but that would distract
Yeah.
me too much, and I
Yeah.
would probably just be sat here sitting
Yeah.
thinking, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And if you're listening and you're only listening to the audio version, you're thinking, "What are you talking about? I can't see what you're doing." But yeah, it's a strange old time, and I wish I knew the answer to this, whether and what's going to happen with the European and internationals,
Yeah.
but you're just going to have to take it play by ear,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what they're doing now is like they're just like, all right, let's get this season done,
yeah,
and then we can start thinking about logistics for the subsequent season,
yeah.
if we can even have that. So
I mean, I think at this moment in time, nothing's off the table.
right,
Literally nothing.
Yeah.
So no idea is going to be a bad idea as such.
right, Yeah.
This could be a complete rescheduling of the FIFA calendar, depending on obviously
Yeah.
how long this goes on. Whether they switch the FIFA calendar to calendar year, that would be obviously a massive, massive change because as we all know, most leagues around the world go from summer to spring the following
Yeah.
year. Obviously, Major League Soccer doesn't
right,
because obviously things like weather permitting, it's a bit
Yep.
difficult during the winter in the States.
yeah. It's a little cold.
Yes, especially in the north side.
Yeah,
But it's going to be tricky. I know obviously the Euro 2020 has been delayed by a full year. I really don't know. It's going to be strange. Whatever happens,
yeah,
it's going to be weird. I know the Champions League tournament, as you just mentioned, that's in Portugal. The final was meant to happen in Turkey, but they've already said that Istanbul will automatically get another one further down the road.
yeah,
They don't have to go through the bidding process to enable that. But yeah, depending on how long this goes on for, whether we'll get a delay to the 2021 season or whether it just becomes the 2021 season, as in the year, for most countries. Who knows?
Yeah.
I just hope things get back to normal sooner rather than later. But if it means that we've got to wait a few more months to get rid of this virus, then I'll happily wait. I'll happily wait for that. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think that was the objective early on with the. I don't know if you all use the term in the UK, flattening the curve, right? People are going to get it.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure that it doesn't get so crazy that hospital units can't take whatever is happening.
Yeah.
And so, what we're seeing here is that in places like Florida and Georgia, Texas are still kind of in their first wave, but it's increasing, right? And they've opened up because they didn't increase in March and April and May, and so they've opened up now, and it's now increasing to the point where it's like, okay, are you gonna have to close down again, or are you gonna have to deal? What issues you're gonna deal with? And so, and I think early on, some sports pundits basically said that we're gonna have to get used to not having. Or we're gonna have to get used to the idea of not having a college football season in the fall, and for a lot of the South, myself included, I'm a big American football fan, so it's kind of something like Saturdays were football in the morning, Premier League, and then college football in the afternoons, all day in front of the television. My wife didn't like that too much, but I probably won't be able to get away with that this year. But the basic idea is that this is something that is important. Like sports is a major part of the culture in the U.S. It is in a lot of countries, but I think for the U.S., Saturday and Sunday afternoons, the baseball in the fall playoffs is a is an important thing. College football, professional football in the fall is huge. College basketball in the spring is always this big part of the culture, and not having that has really kind of shaken everybody up, and it's really caused some like discomfort, which I get. I was looking forward to sitting at home with my daughter, holding her, feeding her, and watching college basketball, watching all the soccer I could. But it didn't happen. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, was really looking forward to those really late nights, spending when my son was obviously going to be awake, needing a feed
Right.
or whatnot, and
Yep.
him and my wife would come downstairs, watch the DC United game with me,
Yeah.
and that's just gone completely out of the water. So it's been a bit strange. Before we actually start speaking about lockdown, I've just got to do the little thank you to the sponsors of the show, which is the MLS UK show. So thank you to Elliot and Henry for sponsoring the 2020 season. They are absolutely fantastic. They are the guys who's inspired me to do this show. So head over onto their Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube channel, because they do podcasts on video as well. Just give them either a follow, a like, subscribe, do everything. Listen to their podcast because it is absolutely fantastic. They're doing interviews at the moment, so they covered lockdown. So they've had players, they've had head coaches on there. They've had John Champion, the commentator, on there. That has been my favorite.
Nice.
That's been my favorite interview so far. So please do go check it out. If you ever tweet them or send them a message, tell them that you've followed them from me, just so because it's a nice thing to do. But we're gonna now talk about being dads in lockdown. Because as we've already talked about, we've both got new babies. First time dads.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. We need all the help we can get, but we're in lockdown, so help is minimal. What have you found? I don't want to say difficult, because if like me, everything's been difficult.
Yeah. The biggest thing has been, like I envisioned taking her out for walks more often.
Yep.
And like just getting out into the neighborhood and, walking into we're in DC, but the neighborhood we're in, the closest kind of like commercial area where there's some like shops and like restaurants, is about a half a mile walk maybe away.
Okay.
And so it's not terrible, but it's still a trek. And I imagine taking that walk with her like in the morning. It's like my wife works at she's a physician, so whenever she would go to work, we'd walk with her to the metro and then like continue on into the little area and maybe grab coffee somewhere and meet the other dads or moms or whatever, and like just build some sort of like community with new parents. But none of that has happened, right? And now I'm like I don't want to. I'm not going to take her out for a walk. I don't want to expose her to anything that's happening. And so that's my thing. I'm like, I don't know. But I can tell you also the thing I was most afraid of, and the thing I got over the quickest, was changing diapers. I was like
feeling you were going to say that.
I was completely like nervous about like, I'm not going to be able to handle this. And then within 2 weeks, I was like, this poopy diaper, got it.
You're in a way you're lucky because you've got a girl, so you don't get the pee fountains. Because that happens more than most people let on. So it's different. I mean, that was a big thing for me. I know my family, my sister, she had. I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but she had kids when she was young. So, so I'm a younger brother, so. I was kind of around kids from a young age.
Got it. Okay.
Had a taste of changing what we called nappies. but that was quite a long time ago because I'm much older and much thinner up on top now.
Yeah.
I mean that I would say it was baby related, but that's just genetic.
Yeah.
It's the grey hairs that have come through now.
Right.
But changing nappies, it's incredibly daunting. I don't know about
Right.
you, but my little boy Jack, his legs just got
Yeah. They
all
just
over the
start moving.
place.
Yeah.
And he's just like, just get your leg down. Let me
Yeah.
put it on. The one big thing about nappy changing is, I don't know whether you've heard of it, but or experienced, but something called a punami.
I think I've had something similar, but
No,
I'll let you explain.
so for those that don't know, a punami is basically where a baby poos so much
Yeah.
it comes out of the nappy.
Yep. We've had that.
Oh,
Yeah. There's a picture of me on Instagram with her, and she's looking at my wife smiling. As she's like, I've been feeding her, and I just feel like she's passing gas, but it's also like this is filling up.
yeah.
And now my leg is warm, and I was like, what's going on? And I kind of lift her up, and it's like all over my leg,
Yeah.
and she's still feeding, and then she looks at my wife and she smiles really big, like right as she does more, and I was just like, come on, really? And then for like a week straight, she did that at the same time. It was like a routine.
What?
Every day at the mid-morning feed, like 10 a.m., I'm sitting there watching like whatever I'm watching, feeding her, and I was like, Amanda, you got to come over here and get her for me. I got to change my pants. Like, so you just got to change everything. So, but she hasn't had as many of late, and I don't know if it's just like
Fingers across.
She controls. Fingers are crossed. Yeah,
Yes.
that's all I can say. Fingers are
Yes.
crossed that it doesn't keep happening.
Oh.
But the other thing that I haven't had to deal with, and I know I will, is being out in public and having to change a diaper, and having to go to like a bathroom, and or if she's like had a blowout, a punami, as you say, it like in a public place, and you're just like, well, I don't have a change of clothing for her, or it's everywhere, and I'm gonna have to like come up with some unique way of like solving this. And then like if we're on a plane, right, and this happens, I don't like.
That's got to be the worst.
I lose sleep over that. Actually,
that's got to be the worst. I know. I've because over here in the UK, you've been allowed to go outside as long as you keep the 2 meter distance from other people outside your household.
Right.
So me and Fliss, we've been down to parks and things like that. So because the weather, since the lockdown was at its tightest, the weather was absolutely brilliant.
Nice.
I mean, the best weather I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's been like mid-20s, sunshine, not a cloud in the sky. Then lockdown's now eased and we've got thunderstorms and wet weather.
Yeah.
But back to my point. So we spent a few days, a few afternoons out in the park. So we'd take little Jack along in the pram. We've got the camping chairs just out there. And he doesn't need changing. So it's not as scary as you think because people know babies need changing.
Right. Yeah.
It's always, I think, what I find in my head anyway, is because it's something's new and it's outside of my comfort zone, I instantly worry about it.
Yep.
But then we've got to think, people have seen it 1,000 times before.
Yeah.
And they'll have gone through it themselves before as well. So people are not going to be that bothered by it. I don't know. Is your little girl, has she been breastfed or is it formula?
Both, actually. And I think we spoke early on. I don't know what was happening, if my wife wasn't producing enough or if my daughter was not like latching on.
Yeah.
and that happens. That happens early on in the first 2 weeks where it just takes time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what they don't tell you at the hospital is like, yeah, you can go get some formula to because your objective is to make sure your baby is fed. And if she's not fed, she's going to be screaming the entire time. So the first night, no one wants that. The first night home was pretty miserable for my wife. And then at like 4 a.m, her dad comes and gets me. He was like, "We're going to CVS. We're going to go grab some formula."
Yeah.
And so we drove up to the CVS, which is a local drugstore. And actually, it's a national chain. But we get some formula, and then it was just like magic. She just was like, "All right, like I'm good now." Like, but we do both. Usually in the mornings and then in the evenings for breastfeeding, and then throughout the day at kind of 3-hour intervals, the formula.
Okay.
So what about you all?
So we're exclusively breastfeeding. I mean,
Okay.
I think it probably helps because the maternity leave over here is pretty decent.
Yeah.
Because it's
A lot better than ours.
I think your wife at the moment is working.
Yeah, she's working from home. But,
okay, so that's not too bad.
But she's still like, she's in the office the entire time. She doesn't leave it because she's seeing patients.
Yeah.
So,
so Fliss is off at the moment. So she's been off the same amount. Well, she had a couple of weeks off before I went on paternity leave. And I know in the UK, standard paternity leave is only 2 weeks. But the company I work for, they give us 14 weeks, which is just insane.
Wow.
Absolutely insane. And what tops it even better, it's full pay. Yeah.
Nice.
It is full pay. So thank you to the company. I'm not going to say who the company is because I don't get paid to advertise them. Sorry, my company. But yeah, things like that, they're absolutely brilliant. So thank you guys. So like I said at the start of the show, I go back tomorrow. So my time is up. I took an extra 3 weeks of leave on top of the 14. So I've near enough had 4 months off.
Right.
But because Fliss is off, she can breastfeed at any point.
Right.
So she gets up in the night. She's an absolute legend for doing that. I mean, Jack will wake me up because we have a next to me crib.
Yeah.
So he's right there, kicking his little legs around, waving around, his arms in the air like he just doesn't care. And he's just, so he'll wake up at the moment, it's usually between 2 and 4. I then wakes up at about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So then we're up for the day.
Okay. Right.
He has slept through the night a few times.
Nice.
Yes. Yes. We've got on that one.
Nice.
But yeah, so like I said, Fliss will breastfeed all the time. There's been occasions where she's gone out. She's expressed some milk so I can feed Jack if needs be.
Yep.
There was a time, who would have been 2 weeks ago now, I think it was, where my wife was doing what's called a keep in touch day. So she spends a day with the company just to keep up to date with things, what's happening.
Right. Yeah.
So I was going to look after Jack for that day. So plenty of milk in the fridge, ready to get fed.
Yeah.
However, she decided to put a chair leg through her toe. So we ended up in A&E. She ended up just feeding him as normal. I didn't have to feed him. But the option is there. So she's got the electronic breast pump, which is insane.
Yeah.
And it saves us having to buy formula in that way. So
that is a good point. I mean, that was a point for us why we wanted to breastfeed early on. And then at some point it became, it just wasn't like feasible knowing that Amanda was going to have to go back to work at 3 months. And we were working it where and also the other thing is like when you do the pumping, like sometimes not enough comes out. So
Yeah.
even if we were doing that and saving it up for later, she was pumping so much that there wasn't any for Martha, our daughter,
Yeah.
to have whenever we were feeding. So it was a combination of all those things, and then formula she seemed to be okay with and settle with, because I know sometimes babies don't settle
Yeah.
with that. And yeah, it was just that part. I think was I think that helped us a little bit to get into a routine. And we've settled into one pretty easily. Like she'll wake up between 5:30 and 6:30. My wife will have been up since 5 anyway. She's exercising because that's the only time she can get her time into exercise. Then she goes and feeds Martha for a little bit, and
Yeah.
then goes in either into the other office, which is the nursery, and does her work from like 7:30 to about 4:30, and then she comes back in the afternoon. And then Martha eats every 3 hours and then has a 3 hour nap in the middle of the day. So
You've got a nice
that's
little
why I'm
routine
able
there.
to. What's that?
You've got a nice little routine going.
We do. And she's doing the rolling over from
Oh,
back
yeah.
to front.
Yes.
And has done some front to back, but
Oh, wow.
not consistently. And I think it's more just like the momentum of flipping over like continued. She did that and she shocked herself. What she'll do is she'll flip over and she'll like scream, like not like a cry scream, but like a happy like scream.
Yeah.
And it's like a power lifter when they like lift something heavy and they like do their like one thing and they're like screaming at the end of it, like ah, like
That's
that. And she'll do
amazing.
that for like 10 seconds, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, what's wrong with you?
That is
But
absolutely amazing.
yeah.
Oh, I know. My little boy Jackie's started. He's moving his way over. So
Yeah.
if we put him down on his activity mat, he will literally just try and flip himself over. He gets onto his side, but we will
Yeah.
to get him. We kind of hold his hand, and then he kind of pulls himself the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So he's near enough there. He hasn't gone from front to back, but back to front.
Yeah.
The thing that we're getting a heck of a lot more time in now is the tummy time.
Yep. Tummy time.
Tummy time, which I did last night with him. So he was watching the football on TV. So
Yeah.
I was just like, this is a good time to get some tummy time in here. Put him down, and there he is just doing this. I was like, that is absolutely brilliant. So he likes his football. So
Yeah.
when MLS does come back, he will be supporting the black and red.
Good. She's big on the sports too. Like the other shows that we can put on, and she won't follow as much. But it's the movement like captures her
Yeah.
attention, and she's like really into it. Like with soccer, I can sit her on my lap, and she's like watching, and she's like kind of calm. She, chews on her thumb, or she's on a pacifier, or is like rah, 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 like trying to do the like mimicking like babbling.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Like, okay, cool. So
Yeah, I know our little lad. He likes the rugby as well.
okay, good.
And a little thing. So when Fliss was pregnant with Jack, the first time we felt him kick was when we were watching rugby, and the crowd noise was quite loud, and he just kicked then, and we were like, and then every time we watched a sport,
Right.
he would be kicking whenever the crowd noise was on. So we're like,
There you go.
yes,
Yes.
he loves the sports.
There you go.
Days. But yeah, we also to kind of keep him occupied when he's getting a little bit bored of his toys and things like that is something called Hey Bear on YouTube.
Hey Bear. I have not heard of that. I'll write that down.
Have a little look on that one. Any new dads out there, if you haven't heard of it, get on it. It's brilliant. Very, very catchy music, but it's all high contrast stuff on there.
Okay.
So it really keeps the baby's attention. They've got animals. The one he likes the most is the dancing fruit. So
Okay.
he gets quite excited when he sees the pineapple on the screen.
Right.
Don't know what it is about those pineapples, but he loves them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things where it keeps his attention. He gets very excited. He gets very happy about it. So it's something that we didn't want to have to do to keep his attention and stop him from getting bored and crying and things. But it works.
Yeah,
It's
we do some reading with her outside of like tummy time and general. Like she'll sit next to me on the computer, and
yeah,
it's just she'll sit next to me on the computer, and or while I'm reading, or while Amanda's doing something. And so um, a lot of times during tummy time, we'll also like get out a book, or if I'm reading something, I may read a like paragraph or two of that. And
oh
she just likes I think in general she likes the interaction and the voices and just hearing us communicate. And um, then we play some like really soft music, like some like classical relaxation music or whatever. And that usually helps her, like if she's unsettled. Um, like, and they do you feed them, and then they do that like 30-minute nap like moment,
yeah,
like
yep,
afterwards. And sometimes she like fights that, and if you can kind of like rock her and then like play a little bit of whatever, Beethoven or Bach or whomever, she'll like fall asleep. I don't
huh,
know like the names of the classical musicians. I just know like, I like the way this sounds, so I'm
yeah.
just gonna play it. So,
Uh,
but
so with music
she
wise, we've got hit our little Jack into a little bit of rock music.
oh, nice. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So we've been playing him some Foo Fighters.
Oh, okay.
So he's kind of happy with that. But generally speaking, we'll just put a playlist on, just something random.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no,
Yep.
there's one time when he was again when he was in the womb, used to sing
Mm-hmm.
"Toss a Coin to Your Witcher" from the TV show The Witcher.
The Witcher. Okay.
Oh yeah. Something to check out. Again, if you've not seen the TV show, highly recommend it. Henry Cavill is absolutely fantastic. But there's the song "Toss a Coin to You." It's so catchy.
Mm-hmm.
It's They had to bring forward the release of the soundtrack because everyone wanted it because of that song. So
Oh wow. Okay.
it brought out a lot of memes, and we can sing that to him, and he just kind of just has nice little smile on his face.
All right.
Another
I've
thing I'd do with him, I lie him down on my lap,
uh
and just get his legs and just do roll your boat.
yeah.
And for some reason, he just giggles. I don't know what it is. He just sits
Yeah.
there and just giggles. I'm like, I'm just doing roll your boat, and I'm just getting closer to your face.
Yeah. Yeah. She likes the if she's sitting in her little, like there's like a little chair that we have for her, like a more like a rocking seat.
Yeah,
I don't know what the technical term is for them, but she likes doing like, I'll put my hands up and she'll like kick her feet out, kind of like a leg press.
yeah.
She'll just like she just like I'll just say push push, and she'll like push, and I'm like okay, and like then she'll start kicking her legs like
Wow.
that, like kind of going along with it. I don't think she knows what push means, but I think she just sees my hands there and she knows it's like push time. Uh,
That's still
so
pretty good.
yeah, and then in terms of like the, um, sometimes you'll hold like the baby in your, what is it, the crook of the elbow, right? I don't
Yeah,
know what it's called, but yeah.
like
So
that.
a lot of times she'll fight that and then want to be flipped over and be held on like her stomach on the forearm as
Oh
opposed to her
wow.
back. And then she'll just like, we'll walk around and she'll just be like gnawing on her thumb, or drooling everywhere, and then kind of like with this like smile on her face, goofy look on her face, and then she'll like either pass out or be done with it and like kind of like fight to roll over again, which is kind of it's interesting because she'll um I think she's associated that like position
Hmm.
on her back on my forearm as you're gonna go to sleep. and so she fights it,
Yeah.
and she won't look at me if she's in that position unless she's like really tired,
Yeah.
and so she'll just like fight that, and so she wants to roll over so she doesn't have to go to sleep. It's like, all right, well,
Yeah.
all right.
For me, trying to get our little boy to sleep, if I'm sat down, just doesn't happen. I have to stand up and
okay.
walk around.
Okay.
It's so I'll have him. So he's up on my shoulder. That's the only way it seems at the moment that I can get him to sleep. It used to be a case of when he was a few weeks old that I'll just have him in the crooked arm position, and I could just literally look at him, rock him a few times, have a little walk around
Yep.
with him, out like a light. Now,
Yep.
if I sit down, if I've had him there and he's starting to settle, I'm like, cool, right, I can sit down now.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Every time I think that and I go to sit down, it's just like, wah, wah. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I've got to stand up. It's been like half an hour. I just want to sit down. My
Yeah,
back's killing me. It's just, but now he's getting a lot better. But most of the time he will only sleep with his mum, which is really annoying. But she's the one who
Yeah.
comforts him, gives them breastfed milk, and he just settles in there, and it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I don't know whether I'm just looking at the light on my camera from the feed. It's getting a little bit dark because it looks like we're going to get a thunderstorm.
Yeah, we've had a few days of or yesterday was stormy, and I think the next 2 days it's supposed to be as well.
Yeah, it's been like that a lot recently for us this last week. I drove home and literally the windscreen wipers just weren't going quick enough for me to see when I was driving. It was just crazy. Have you, just for people who are listening, have you had to sort of any really, really difficult times since becoming a new dad?
I think I think the most difficult thing for me was I expected myself to. So I was doing writing and some creative stuff, and I'd wanted to kind of shift gears again and go into. I've got a friend that works at a consulting firm, and he was like, "Hey, just apply. Like, we'll fit you in. You fit all the criteria." The biggest thing for me was that because COVID-19, I put that to the side because we're not comfortable sending Martha to daycare or hiring a nanny. So that's been for me the most difficult thing is like giving up that, and of course, like males have this expectation of working and bringing an income and being the breadwinner. And I kind of, a long time ago, whenever my wife got married, I knew that I would never make as much money as she makes. So I just gave up that like idea of like I can't compete with her salary at all, and so it's just not going to happen. And so the big thing for me is being a stay-at-home dad essentially, and having to like accept that moniker, if you will, and kind of shift that expectation of being like, okay, like my 9 to 5 is taking care of my daughter, and doing what I can to make sure that everything she needs during that time period, I'm the primary person for, and that does a number on a male psyche, I think, and it it is what it is, and I think what happens a lot of times with parents, you just do it because that's what needs to be done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in those like quiet moments, you're like, what else? What about yourself?
Yeah. So for me, I've had a really pretty tough time where I've had some horrible thoughts, to say the least. I've had some dark moments. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I've had walks where I've just gone out by myself and I've just thought I could just pack it in here.
Yeah.
And just that would be it. That's how low I've got. But
Okay.
it's been a case of I've got an mate who's in a similar position. He's a new dad, but his kid was born November last year, and he struggled with mental health. But having him and being able to talk to him,
Yeah.
it's just been fantastic. And that helped me then speak to my wife about it. And I think that's been the big thing of trying to overcome it. And these horrible thoughts. It's actually just open up a bit. And it just got on top of me. Just the fact that
Yeah.
new dad, I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm doing. We're expecting to be able to go to baby classes, meet up with other parents, and just socialize.
Yeah.
That's been the fact that we've not been able to do that. I've not been able to
Yeah.
fall onto my in-laws. I know I can't fall into my family because they're so far away.
Right.
I don't expect them to be waiting on hand and foot. But not even having them being able to come down and see
Yeah.
Jack. I know my sister, she's been waiting a long time for me to have a kid. She's been on at me to have one for a while. Same with my niece and my nephews. But they've not been able to see Jack. So
Right.
that's not been great. Obviously, we've got video calling, which has helped a bit, but it's just not the same as
not the same,
seeing someone
Yeah.
in person.
Right.
I mean, most people will probably think I'm kind of used to it because I do a lot of interviews and things like that with people over in the States.
Right.
So I'm kind of
Right.
used to being in front of the camera doing video calls.
Yep.
But it's not the same as being in
It's
person.
not the same. Yeah.
And not having been able to rely on family or friends to go and see, it really got on top of me, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I really can't.
Yeah.
Then you just pick up on all the negative stuff when you're in that kind of frame of mind. So Jack was crying, I know Fliss was tired, so things weren't being done around the house because I wasn't doing it. So whether it was washing up, cleaning, hoovering, things like that, and I was just like, I just need a break. And
Right.
then when I was speaking to Brett, he put me in touch with a couple of dad groups over on Facebook. So that's helped. So you see a lot of dads who are in the same place, but actually, we're all in this together. We're all dads. We're all first time dads at some point. We've all been through pretty bad stuff, but we're there to help each other. So the kind of thing why I wanted to touch on this is the fact that you might get yourself in that place, and it's difficult to get out of. I still have days like that where I just think,
Yeah.
you just, and you just feel,
Right.
this is just not right. But
Yeah, I think the big thing that you did and that you're doing now is you talked about it. You found some people. You messaged me. We had a quick conversation. And you had a friend who went through a similar thing. You reached out to him to see how he went about it and how he shaped everything, and then you had that conversation with your wife. And I think the big thing, the other big thing I should say, is destigmatizing these feelings, right?
yeah, absolutely.
These feelings aren't wrong necessarily, right? These are natural feelings that you're going to have, right? People are going to feel overwhelmed. People are going to feel like nothing I do is working. It's a matter of being able to have that conversation and hold your hand up and say, listen, I am feeling overwhelmed right now, and I need a little bit of help. And just saying that sometimes helps, and then taking that next step after that to dissect and unpack what all of that means. So
because I know as soon as I told Fliss, honestly, it felt like the weight of my world had just come off my shoulders, and I was just like, and like I said, most days before I spoke to her about it, most days were dark days. I haven't even told my parents this yet, so sorry, mum and dad, but if you find out like this, but it was just, it was crazy. And like I said, as soon as I started talking about it, it just suddenly got better. I know I didn't do a podcast for over a month,
Right.
which, even though we're in lockdown, that was just it. That's not happened. So it was affecting all parts of things that I really enjoyed. So whether it was just chatting to my son, who doesn't understand what I'm saying, he
Yeah.
goes a bit back. Now because I've talked about it and I recognise that, you know what, these feelings are normal. They're perfectly normal. I can now start enjoying talking to my son. I've got back into doing this, which is something it's a passion of mine.
Yep.
It's just one of the things. So if you are struggling and you are watching this, reach out to me. Honestly, drop me a message over on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I don't know whether you can do on YouTube, or Twitter. You need someone to listen to you. I'm happy to do it because honestly, it does help massively.
Yep.
But I want to ask you, David. I've got to look the right way. I want to ask you, David. What's been the best bit for you?
Oh.
If you can actually even name a best thing.
Oh. I don't know if it's the best bit, but like whenever she wakes up in the morning and she looks at you and is just smiling, like to get this like grin on their face, they're just so excited to see you. Or those moments whenever she is sleeping and she just like looks up at you and she's like, I'm in my comfort zone because you're here.
Yeah.
And that keeps you going. It keeps me going at least. And then just the general, like when she babbles or gurgles or whatever noises that she makes, that's been the best bit. What about yourself for you?
I kind of gotta say it's very, very similar. So I know when he's gone to sleep on me, because like I said, it doesn't happen too often, but he looks up at me and he just has this little smile and he smiles back and then it turns into this massive grin. And it's just like, that's awesome. And then when I'm doing the roll your boat and he's just chuckling, and now I blow raspberries on his belly, and that just brings out this massive, massive gurgle of laughter. And even doing his nappy changes.
Yeah.
I because I can just have him lying there on the mat.
Yeah.
And I'll just be sat there talking to him. And my thing that I had in my head, what I was imagining, was nappy changes would be full of crying.
Yeah.
There would just be hatred, crying, absolutely horrible nightmare of a thing to do. But I've now found a way where when I'm changing him, I'll tickle his belly, tickle his armpits, have a little chat with him. There's no crying at all. And it becomes a fun time. Carry on.
Yeah, sorry. One of my friends told me early on that he was like, he's got 2 kids, and he was like, you're gonna get used to narrating everything that you do.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's gonna seem weird, but it's part of that like social interaction. It's part of them learning to hear the sound of your voice and understand different like language things. And I don't do it every time, but same general principle, like changing diapers, I thought was going to be crying all the time, but then like you said, it ends up being this time where you can interact with them one-on-one.
Yeah.
So
it's and I think there's a theme there. It's the interaction, isn't it, that you have with your child, that bonds that you're building. Because again, that was one of my big struggles early on. Was I felt like I wasn't bonding because Fliss was doing she was feeding him, she was having that close, nice time with him, and I was just there for nappy changes.
Right. Yeah.
But now the fact that yes, I'm there for nappy changes. I do quite a lot.
Yeah.
Fliss also does a fair share before you shout at me, Fliss. You do your fair share. Um, but it's there for things like the activity times, the tummy time,
Yeah.
and the interaction way, whether it's reading a book or just giving them a bath as well.
Right.
He's just recently
Yeah.
learned to splash. Yesterday, he started learning to splash.
The splash.
I was like, oh no, the place is going to get soaked.
Yeah, I think, that's also part of the like deconstructing like the male psyche, right?
Yeah.
Is that we think we have to always be in the lead. We think we have to always be the one that is the primary person. And when your kid is born, often that role is reversed, and you go from being like the primary person to being you're there for support.
Yeah.
You're the support guy, right? You're the one running to get the extra burp cloth. You're there, oh, we forgot to get this extra diaper. Like, you got to run back and get that, or your wife needs an extra pillow during breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Like, you're the pillow guy.
Yeah.
At that moment, that's what you got to do. You're the guy bringing the extra ammunition whenever you're low, right?
Yeah.
So, and it definitely plays that, like, it messes with you a little bit, and so you get into this situation, and like you said, you've talked about it. You've been very vocal and willing to share, and that's always a good thing to talk about those. The feelings that you have, and destigmatizing, being willing to talk about it, and that's the first step, and often that's the one step that helps the most.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the kind of thing I just want to bring a bit of visibility to it. The fact that it was always been in my head that before Jack came along and before I even thought about it, I was kind of chilled. I was relaxed. I wouldn't get stressed out or get really overwhelmed or anything. I was just happy just to get on with things. And then this happened, and it really, really messed with me. Because, well, as we both know, having a kid really does change your life.
Yep, 100%.
And then to add COVID into that mix, where everything changed on top of that, to go through two pretty much life-changing things in the space of a week and having to adapt to that was difficult. That was tricky. But now we're I hope that we're on the back end of it. We're in this kind of, as like I said earlier on in the show, the new normal. We're getting used to it. Things are easing, and I hope they do over the States as well to get better. We're getting there, and we're getting used to it, and things will progressively get better and better. And it's just crazy to see this little being growing exponentially. Far too quick for my liking, because he's, like I said, he's just over 3 months old, and he's starting to fill some 6-month clothing.
Yeah, that's been the thing. We keep telling people, they're like, what do you need? And we told them early on, we were like, we got enough newborn stuff. Get us to 3 to 6 month. Get us to 6 to 9 month.
Yep.
And she is starting to fill out the 3 to 6 month, and we're like, we don't have 6 to 9 month. So we're gonna have to get that at some point.
It's balmy, absolutely balmy. And if he takes after his dad, so as you know, David, I'm quite a big guy.
Yeah. 6'3", 6'3" inches.
Oh,
6'4".
Add another half foot on that. 6'10".
6'10". Oh wow.
Yeah, I really hope he doesn't take after me. Because that's not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's a big lad. Apparently 75th percentile. So there's still a fair chunk. 25% are apparently bigger than he is at his age. but he's a big guy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how he gets on.
She's growing too. I think more. I don't know. I don't know where she sits percentile wise, but she's growing as well. And
Yeah.
both Amanda and I are in mid level range of heights. I would like for her to be taller than us. That's just a personal preference of mine. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I got my dad's genes. He's his mother's family was short, so we get those genes.
Oh.
But anyway, yeah, she's growing, and we're happy about that. And we go in next week for the 4-month shots or the 8-week shots. No, what? How long ago? 16 week shots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the pediatrician will tell us where she is on that scale. So.
Yeah, those jobs are a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing that solo because my wife will be working, and
Ooh.
not only am I gonna be driving by myself, and I'm gonna be there by myself too. So, I don't know how I feel about that.
Ouch. Yeah, so far,
Yeah.
you were only allowed one parent in at a time.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
whoever does it has to do it solo. Fliss has done it both times that he's had here, been over to the hospital. But thankfully, the hospital is just there.
Oh, nice.
It's across the road from us, so it's close proximity.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never a fun thing. That's the kind of the days that I kind of dread the most, I think. It's usually 24 hours, and then he's usually fine. So,
Yeah.
but I think we've come to a bit of an end, because I can't think of anything else to talk about to the listeners out there, or the viewers out there who are watching. If you've got to this point, well done. You've got through the dad episode. It is Father's Day this weekend. I don't know whether for us, Nika, is it the same in the States?
Yeah, it is the same. It's also my wife's birthday is on Monday, and our wedding anniversary is Wednesday. So, we get there's a lot of packing in 5 days. So,
I just want to say happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, and especially my dad. So thank you for raising me, I suppose. Yeah. Thank you for giving me the receding hairline. The looks, cheers, Dad. But obviously, happy Father's Day to you as well, David. Yep,
same to you, and thank you for being willing to chat about the things you went through, and you were willing to engage and kind of roll back the stigma as they say, and that's huge, right? Like that's a big thing. And so thank you for that and being willing to share, and hopefully other people will reach out to you. And I'm available too on Twitter and Instagram if people listen to it and they want to chat with someone, if they're in the US and they want to be on the same time zone. I'm around. I can chit chat and engage in conversation if they want. And again, happy Father's Day to you, and then to my dad as well. He's sitting in Bardstown, Kentucky.
Nice.
I think probably reading something intense, and he's probably going to call me later and want to talk about it. So there you go.
As you just mentioned, if people do want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yes, so my Twitter handle is at ShamsWriter, and my Instagram handle is David Shams Writer. So just reach out to me there, and there you go.
And if you're listening out there and somehow you don't follow me on any social media, just head over onto Twitter, which is at DC United Kingdom. Give us a follow on that. On Facebook and Instagram, it's at DC United Kingdom FC. And hit that subscribe button over here on YouTube if you're watching. Like the video. Feel free to comment on it as well. share it with other dads out there. That would be great, just to help get this message out there that if you're feeling low, it's okay. Talk about it. There is other ways. Obviously, you can go to therapy. There's medication if you have to go down that route. But for me, what I found is working is just talking about it. It's like I say, follow me, message me. I'm happy to talk about it. And thank you for listening to this Extra Time special show, this Father's Day special one, I'm going to call it. And until next time, Vamos United.